Hey, before we dive into this week's episode, if you've been enjoying the show, I'd love your support. Take just 10 seconds to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps others discover the wisdom and inspiration that I share on the Pivot to Balance podcast. Let's build a community of balance seekers together. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to share the love. Now let's dive into the episode. Hello and welcome to the Pivot to Balance podcast. I'm your host, AK, and I hope you're doing well. In a world that pulls us in a million different directions and with a billion distractions, finding balance can feel like an ambiguous quest. Join me on this podcast as I try to navigate life's twists and turns with mindfulness, purpose, and grace. In each episode, we will dive into topics like self-care, personal growth, mindset shifts by sharing practical insights, stories, and maybe even interviews. Get ready to pivot, to recalibrate, and find your balance. Follow the Pivot to Balance podcast, and I will see you on the other side. All right, so we're almost at the end of January, so I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about this. Everyone's either crushing their resolutions or quietly forgetting that they even made them, and I'm not judging you, but I do want to talk about this. Goals don't have to feel like a marathon where you're literally crawling to the finish line, all burnt out, and kind of wondering, why did I even put myself through this? So I'm going to walk you through how I have been approaching goal setting this year, like for the past couple of weeks. And also I worked on it in November and December, kind of really thought about what the hell it is that I wanted to do in 2025. And I want to talk about, since it's been 3 weeks, what has worked, what hasn't, and how to make your goals feel doable, not dream, but doable. So if you've been feeling like, oh my God, it's already January 22nd, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, like you're already behind this year, stick around because I am going to break it down. So first, let's start off by talking about the elephant in the room. Why do we make goal setting so complicated? A couple things I've noticed in my own life. Number one, we treat goals like all or nothing. Raise your hand if you've ever thought, if I didn't finish this by insert unrealistic deadline, it's a failure. Yeah, I've done that. Goals aren't about perfection. They're actually about progress. And no matter how many times I say this and how many times you listen to the same phrase, progress, not perfection, you will still never actually remember it when you're in the process. You'll be like, oh my God, this is not good. I should be doing better. I should be doing better. I should be doing better. Stop. Even taking the effort to start something is perfection, in my opinion. Number two, we set too many goals at once. I used to make this huge list at the start of every year, 15 to 20 goals. I remember in 2024, I was talking to a friend when I was setting my goals, and I told my friend, like, I have 24 goals I want to set for 2024, but I only have 10 written down, and I don't know what I want to do for the rest. And I actually just stopped. Like, I decided not to set anything for 2024. And that year was not good because I didn't set anything. So that was not the best thing. But when I look back, I feel like I've accomplished maybe one or two of them because it was just way too much. And I've done this for years. And the third problem is we ignore the bigger picture. Sometimes we're so focused on checking boxes that we forget to ask, why am I even doing this? So if that sounded familiar, cool, because there's a way better way to do this. Here's something I'm doing differently in 2025. Instead of trying to map out the whole year, because I've figured out that 1 year can really change a lot in your life, I'm focusing on the next few weeks. Ask yourself these two questions. What's one goal that's really important to me this month? What's one small thing I can do every single day to move closer to this one? For me, January has been about simplifying my life. I'm clearing out old stuff that I don't want, organizing my content, figuring out what's working and what's not working, and I'm actually focusing on things that actually bring me closer to my goals. Like, two things I have been laser focused this month is the Marketing Women podcast and trying to figure out some things for my book that I'm writing. Because when I started it, it was so exciting, but then I was actually talking about it on LinkedIn today when I was talking about The Dip written by Seth Godin. And it's not that easy to continue with something, which I'll talk in another episode. I just have two goals. These are the two goals for January. I'm not really spending a lot of energy elsewhere. So here's one thing I want you to do right now. If you're driving, don't write it. But if you're not, write down one focus for January on a sticky note and put it wherever you'll see it every day. Literally, you have to see it every day. There's no compromise on that. Hey, if you listen to this podcast, I think you will also love my newsletter, Elevator Gazette. I talk a lot about elevating your professional and your personal lives. Make sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Go to anushakhannan.com/email list, and I'm sure you will love it. Join everyone who is like-minded. And now let's get into the episode. Now, the truth is, you don't need a perfect plan to start. For example, when I moved cities last year, I had no full-time job, very little savings, and honestly, no idea what was next. But I knew one thing. Staying where I was not working for me. So sometimes the best goals are the ones you figure out as you go. Like I said, in 2024, when I was writing down my goals, even in those 10, 15 ones that I actually figured out, I did not once write that I want to write a book. But then end of 2024, I actually started writing a book. And that idea came to me after I moved, after seeing a lot of things that year. So if you're stuck in planning mode, I highly recommend these two things. Pick one thing to focus on today, even if it's small, and take some kind of an action. And it doesn't matter if it's not the perfect one. If it's like, oh my God, it's all over the place, it's totally fine. You can refine it as you go. So if you're overwhelmed, grab a notebook, brain dump all of your thoughts, and pick one thing to handle today. Now, let's talk about focus. Here's a rule I've started using, and I only work on 3 main goals at a time. So here's how I'm breaking it down. Work goal, personal goal, health goal. And this could be anything for you, for whatever is important at this point in your life. For work goal, of course, I'm applying to jobs, but other than that, I'm creating 2 new podcast episodes. For personal goal, I'm writing 300 to 500 words for my book every day. Health goal, move my body for 20 minutes daily. This is non-negotiable. No 15 goal list, no overcomplicating things, because when you focus on fewer things, you actually finish them. And another thing that's helped me is breaking big goals into micro steps. For example, instead of saying, I want to write my book, I focus on writing 300 words a day. Instead of saying, I want to revamp my content strategy, I spend 30 minutes reworking one piece at a time. The smaller the step, the more likely you are to do it. So at the end of each week, sit down and write down one thing you've accomplished, big or small. It helps you stay motivated. Now, the most important part of setting goals is burnout. And my biggest thing about 2025 is I don't want to burn out. I was burnt out in 2024 and I don't want to do that. And you cannot pour your all into your goals if you're running on empty. So here are the 3 things I'm doing. Number 1, create energy budgets. So treat your energy like money. You only have so much to spend. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can drop or delegate this week? I would also add another sub point here, which is look at your energy levels and go by that. And I totally understand if you're working 9 to 5, it's not like you can go and tell your boss like, hey, I don't have energy from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So do not send me any messages or don't call me in meetings. I know it's not always possible. But find out hours where your energy levels are amazing, when you can actually sit down and focus. Just track that. Maybe there's something you can do about it. Number 2, set boundaries. Just because you can work 12 hours a day doesn't mean you should. This is me. If you look at me after 6 p.m. and let me sit in front of my laptop, I promise you I will not get up before 2 a.m. That is just who I am. Like I just cannot get up. I will have so much energy that I will sit down and focus and I will not get up, which is why I have my gym plan right at the end of the day so that I'll be forced to get out of my chair. Number 3, celebrate your wins. Progress, it's not always this, yay, I can announce this great, awesome, glamorous thing, but I do think anything you've done, it's worth celebrating. I was like telling my mom the other day, I was telling her, I'm not really doing a lot. And then my mom she just gave me the side eye because I've been publishing episodes every week for both the Marketing Woman and the Pivot to Balance. I've been doing YouTube videos. I've been writing a newsletter. I've been creating content on Instagram. I've been applying to jobs. I've been going to so many events. that to me doesn't feel glamorous because it doesn't seem like progress. But then I have to remind myself, like, these things are great. I'm doing all of these things and I need to celebrate it. And this could be anything for you. This could be like, hey, today I woke up and I stretched for 5 minutes. Some days I do that. I'm like, oh my God, I actually woke up and did something for my body. This is amazing. I think that's worth celebrating because that gives you a confidence boost. So for me, it's as simple as treating myself to coffee after a good writing session or taking the evening off to relax or just being like, you know what? I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to watch a movie and I'm not going to care about anything else. I don't want to look at my phone. I don't care about what's happening in the world. I just want to watch a movie. So one thing I would recommend here, which I am planning on doing this year, is starting a win jar. Write down one small win in whatever cadence suits you best. I'm going to do this every month, but if you want to do it every day or every week, totally up to you. Look back at it whenever you're feeling stuck. So I talked about 5 things here. The number one thing is to focus on what matters right now. Don't worry about the whole year. Number 2, keep it simple. 3 main goals at a time. Number 3, break big goals into micro steps. Number 4, protect your energy. Don't overcommit. Number five, celebrate your progress no matter how small. Once again, goal setting doesn't have to feel like a race. The key is finding a rhythm that actually works for you. And that's what I have for you for this week's episode. If this episode helped you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn and tell me what's the one goal you're focusing on this month. Thank you for hanging out with me. Please go grab a cup of lemon water. Don't forget to follow the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at _. For the behind the scene updates. Sign up for my newsletter at anushakhannan.com/email list, where I'll be sharing insights on personal growth, mindset shifts, marketing. If you're into marketing, if you're into analytics, you want to know about the business world and AI, I do that as well, twice weekly newsletter. I have a YouTube channel if you want to go and subscribe to that. Links to everything is in the description. And I'll see you next week. Bye.